Get us with one grenade.
Good evening. I'd like to call the regular school committee meeting to order. Today being April 26, 2016. We're getting started a little late today. We all wanted to attend the Peabody High School Academic Awards evening. All of us attended together, the superintendent, the assistant superintendent. Really a special night to see our students shine and to be recognized for their outstanding achievements. We always talk about how much talent there is in the city of Peabody, and it was on display tonight. Wide range of subjects and just incredible achievements for our students. So we wanted to be there today, and we apologize that we're getting started a little late. But I'd like to start the meeting off. First, let me just say the meeting is being recorded by the PeabodySchool Committee's recording secretary. The matters listed on the agenda are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. I'd like to start off, if we could all rise for a moment of silence, and if we could all keep in mind the passing of Bob Driscoll, a wonderful gentleman, somebody who cared deeply for the city, longest serving city councilor, 28 years, and somebody who's going to be greatly missed, a wonderful man, a wonderful family, and if we could just keep him in our thoughts and his family in our thoughts. And now the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now we'll go to approval of minutes. We have the regular school committee meeting minutes from April 11, 2016.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. You've heard the motion by Mr. Rossignol, seconded by Mrs. Dunn. Any questions? Hearing none at this time, roll call vote, please, for approval.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Rossignol?
Yes.
Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes. Thank you. Now we'll go to approval of bills. Mrs. Carpenter? You want to make a motion?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant 3025 dated April 26, 2016, in the amount of $708,925.59. I'm sorry, I'm reading off of a, subject to audit.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. You've heard the motion by Mrs. Carpenter for approval of warrant 3025, seconded by Mr. Rossignol. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Rossignol?
Yes.
Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant 3026 dated April 26, 2016, in the amount of $136,659.35, subject to audit.
Second.
Okay, thank you. You've heard the motion by Mrs. Carpenter for approval of warrant 3026, seconded by Mr. Rossignol. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Rossignol?
Yes.
Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes. Thank you. Next item is continued business. Mrs. Dunn, anything to report on the MSBA Higgins project?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this week, Thursday at 3 p.m. will be our monthly meeting for the Higgins School Building Committee. At that time, the members and invited members of the school committee will be getting a tour of the school for an update on the construction progress. And I'm sure everyone's looking forward to that immensely. And we will schedule our next monthly meeting after Thursday's meeting.
Great, thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Thank you. Next item is public participation. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to come forward and speak? They're welcome to do so now at this time. Seeing no one, we will go to the superintendent's report. Dr. Levine, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to go through the remainder of the items on the superintendent's report before I do the budget, if that's okay with everybody. We received 3 respondents to the RFP that we put out for after school, before school, and summer programming. You have received them electronically. I would ask the school committee to now choose dates for inviting in each of the respondents and how it is that you would like me to instruct the respondents to proceed. So please do so, and then I will set that up for you for the meetings in the future as you instruct me to do.
Mr. Rosino?
Do you have a time frame in mind for a selection process so that we are up and running come September?
Yeah, I would suggest that anytime within the next, I think that if we did a school committee meeting for the next 3 school committee meetings, a presentation each meeting for the next 3 school committee meetings, and then you deliberated and did your business and did your choosing, that would leave us plenty of time, because we already have the summer taken care of. So any time before the end of this school year to make your choice would be fine with me.
I'm sorry, through the
No,
chair.
please.
So, 3 meetings, that's basically the month of May and beginning of June. So that only gives a potential suitor 2.5 months to get the personnel that they need in place come September. Me personally, and I don't want to speak for the group, I would rather push that up a little bit to give whoever ends up getting the contract come September to have as much time as possible to get the staff that they need in place as soon as possible. That's just my opinion.
It's a
to be
school committee
perfectly honest with you.
decision. You know, whatever it is the school committee decides.
I have thoughts on this as well, but is there anybody that, Mrs. Dunn? Want to go?
Actually, I would like to see them, if we had like 1 hour per presentation, I'd like to see them in one night, just so that I would be able to better compare and contrast the programs. Spreading it out, it would be okay, but if we had them closer in time, I think it would help a lot as far as making sure that, everyone was presenting, in a similar timeframes. That's just my own personal preference.
Thank you.
I just have
Go ahead.
If I may, just
Yep.
on that one point, my one fear of having them back to back, if they're able to sit in, because these are gonna be open sessions, they're gonna have the third party, whoever that may be able to kind of tailor their presentation around the other 2 presentees.
I think we happen,
It just-
technically, if you thought of it, the third person, the third person, if we spread it out over 6 weeks, they'd have 6 weeks to get ready,
True,
so,
good point.
yeah.
Mr. Hockman?
No, I just wanted to say I agree with Ms. Dunn. I think that one night, 3-hour session, sooner rather than later, as Mr. Rosignol said, give the party that wins the bid the opportunity to get up to speed and get their licensure or whatever else is required in place so that we have no concerns come the end of August. School will start the end of August this year, so it's a little sooner.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Dr. Levine, so all 3 of the companies that submitted the paperwork, they met all the basic qualifications that we outlined?
Yes.
Yes, okay. I agree with Mrs. Dunn in her comments. I would like to do it all in one evening, and I think it will kind of give us a better idea. Sometimes if it's spread out, you can kind of forget some of the details on certain things. So I'd like to propose, looking ahead, we have May 10th and May 24th are our regular scheduled meetings for May. What I'm thinking is, and the following, Thursday the 17th is the George Peabody Legacy Award. So that's, I know one that's very popular that we like to be at, honor some of our retired teachers and school officials. So I was thinking we do it on a Monday, either Monday, May 9th, or Monday, May 16th, or even Monday, May 23rd. We pick one of those nights, have it on a Monday, have it maybe 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. We can schedule that, but I was thinking that might be an appropriate time. Then on May 24th, if we're ready to make a decision that night, that could be the vote, and that would give the company that we go with a full 3+ months to get everything ready to go. So I was just looking at those dates as a way we could do this in a timely manner, allow us the opportunity to think on it, reflect on the presentations, but then to be fair to the group that comes in, to allow them plenty of time in order to put everything together. So those would be the dates I was looking at. May 9th, May 16th, and May 23rd are all a Monday. Mrs. Dunn?
Actually, just another suggestion, if we did it on either on the 9th, then we would be able to take our vote the next day at a school committee meeting.
We could do that, exactly. That's why I thought a Monday might be good prior to a regular meeting, then we could vote. Yep. Mr.
And I
Miko?
think in fairness to the three groups, the sooner the better. I think the 9th would probably work, and then we could take that vote on the 10th and give them that extra time to get up to speed if need be for the start of the year.
Mr. Rosio?
Thank you. Through the chair to Dr. Levine, do you think the groups would be ready to present on the 9th?
Oh, they're chomping at the bit.
Okay.
Great. Mr. Hockman?
Yeah, just if I may, the 9th is fine. It's a busy time of year for all of us. Spring sports are starting or have started, and schedules are already out for a lot of the activities.
Yeah.
If possible, could we start at 4 on the 9th, or as early as 4? Or maybe abbreviate the presentations to 45 minutes as opposed to an hour if we started at 5, just to accommodate some of those other obligations that we have.
Anybody have work issues if we started earlier?
I don't know if I'd be able to make it
I-
before 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I can't, I work till like 5.
I understand that and certainly and appreciate and respect that. Perhaps then, if it's possible for us to curtail the presentations to 45 minutes each.
No, I
as
think
opposed to an
45
hour.
minutes is reasonable. Yeah, I think an hour. I think 45 minutes, very reasonable. So if you want, do we want to start maybe at 5:30 or 5?
If possible, 5, but again, I understand
That work for you?
obligations.
What was it?
5 o'clock? And we did 45-minute presentations. So it'd be 5, 5:45, 6:30?
Do you want, well, yeah, I would say 5:50 or 5, something. You gotta
Yeah.
leave a few
Yeah,
minutes.
a few minutes, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Is 5 o'clock all right with you, Brandy?
You want to do 5:15?
Okay.
A little time. All right. Oh, Mr. Amico?
So the question is this going to be open to the public? If anyone
I think
wants-
that's a vote we have to make. I would like it to be, and,
Oh, yeah.
I think that has to be.
Absolutely.
Yep. Mr. Olympio?
Will we be able to, so the 45 minutes is their presentation plus our questions to them?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
my feeling, and please everybody weigh in, would be that we give them a half hour, we turn it over to them to make the presentation. We don't have to give them a time. We just say that, we want to follow up with questions, give us your presentation, and then we'd like to follow up the 45 minutes in total. Mr. Rosino?
Just a question. Are we going to allow public participation?
I would highly suggest against that.
Yeah, I think,
I wasn't going to be in favor of it. I just wanted to survey the will of the
Yeah,
committee.
That's where it could become a circus. I would highly
Yeah.
suggest against that.
okay, Mr. Huckman?
Yeah, and if we can, and if it's an issue, or if someone thinks it's an issue legally, perhaps we can get an opinion from Attorney Sprzinski, but I would like to sequester the applicants.
The
The presenter only.
The presenter only, so the other two wouldn't be able to sit in on the.
I suspect many of our questions would be similar, and I wouldn't want to give one company an advantage over another.
Okay. Any thoughts?
And I don't know that we're permitted to do that, but perhaps we can ask Attorney
Well,
Sprzinski.
you're permitted to do it during interviews for candidates,
Yeah.
when you interview for superintendencies and principalships. They don't sit in.
Okay.
I think you can do that legally.
I would think so too, but that's something we can check.
Yeah.
So I think we're targeting May 9th, set up the meetings for 5 o'clock, 5:50, 6:40.
Yep, I got that.
45 minutes and a few minutes in between.
Yep.
Open to the public, and we'll check on that issue about if we can just separate to allow only the presenter,
Okay.
not have the other two coming in at that time.
I'll set it up.
Great.
Great.
Do we need a motion on that, Dr. Levine?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Where do we plan on doing this?
I like City Hall, I think the meetings have been going very well there.
Do we have a place to sequester at City Hall?
There's great coffee in the mayor's office.
Please.
No, just,
Yes.
Actually, though, where it's not a
Mrs.
school
Duff.
committee meeting,
Yeah.
would it be okay to have it in the conference room with the Kylie? That always seems to work well for different types of presentations, because when we're at City Hall and they set up a screen or anything like that, half of us have to move anyway, but at the Kylie, you know how we sit with the screen at the front?
The conference room at the Kylie would work, and then there's plenty of places to sequester people.
Yeah, because we don't have a meeting
Um,
following
not
that,
a
so.
meeting.
Public,
that's what I was just gonna
I
ask.
wonder how many people will show up. I mean, there is room in that conference room,
We do have budget meetings there, and
and we do have budget meetings there.
Yeah.
Not too many people show up for budget meetings, but I don't think there'll be a huge turnout. How many people will fit in that conference room?
I usually get 2 rows of chairs up against that bookcase.
I think it'll be okay. Yeah, I think it'll be okay. We can try it. No? You don't want to do it?
I think there's a possibility that there could be a large crowd.
Yeah? Okay.
That's just my feeling based on past history. Let's think on that, I mean,
Yeah, the logistics of it.
yeah, I mean, that'd be the only tricky thing, is if we do have a large crowd.
About the,
Mr. Hockman, then Mr. Miko.
I apologize.
No, it's okay.
About maybe the PMLP auditorium.
I just feel like, my feeling, Mr. Hockman, would just be, we need to be consistent. Everybody knows that we're having meetings now at the high school, or the Kylie in the past, so. I think that actually would be a good location for it, though.
I think in
Mr.
fairness to
Miko?
the public, we should be consistent and hold it at City Hall. I think it makes it much easier.
We'll find a place to keep these folks.
Brody's.
All right, so that's what we're gonna go with, and then,
All right.
Dr. Levine, we can make a determination as to the location. But May 9th, it's a Monday night, open to the public, 5 o'clock, 5:50, 6:40. We'll hear the 3 qualified companies make their presentations, opportunities to ask questions by the school committee members.
I'm going to assume City Hall unless I hear differently.
Okay.
All right? Okay.
Great.
Great. The second thing on the agenda, we did hire a vocational director. I want to thank Dr. Charette and Eric Buckley, principal of the high school, for running a very tight ship on the interview committee, along with Maria Ferry. We had 2 very strong candidates as finalists. Jody Norton, who has worked for us in the past. He worked for us from 1999 to 2004, was very highly thought of. He was our JV basketball coach, and he did a wonderful job as a teacher. He has gained experience at the Essex Tech Voc, very highly thought of over there. Dr. Lupini is sad to lose him. I offered the job to him, and he has accepted, and I think he will be a tremendous addition to the high school as our new vocational director, and I believe that he will have a long career there. So I will be inviting him to our next school committee meeting so that you can reacquaint yourselves with him if you don't know him, and I think that you will be very happy with his appointment. So I'm very happy to report that he has accepted the job, and you have his resume in your folder. We have a heroin pilot program that I went to breakfast with John Blodgett, our district attorney. He called and invited me to sit down with him and talk to him about some money that he had for the city of Peabody, and he is giving us up to $30,000 from this grant to do training and on heroin awareness, opiate awareness. I've invited Sharon Cameron to join us in identifying some areas of need where we can train our people jointly, and Sharon's working with her people on identifying some of those areas, and I think by Friday we will have recommendations to the DA as to how we're going to use this money. The money has to be spent by June 30th, so it's kind of an immediate need to identify these areas and spend the money on professional development, and Kara and I will be kind of managing this project. But I want to thank publicly DA Blodgett for thinking of Peabody and for allotting this money to us. You have the bus fee letters that'll be going out and the applications in your packet. And I did want to bring to your attention that every day while our kids were in Italy, I received a text and pictures from Abby Gore. I want to congratulate Ms. Gore for running a tremendously organized and well-run trip, safe and extremely educational. Every day Eric and I were in touch with her, and I'm very pleased to tell you that the trip went off without a hitch. And of course, anything that Mrs. Gore touches goes off without a hitch, but I did want to bring to your attention that they're home safe, and quite frankly, I don't know what the hell you people were worried about. Okay. Rolling into budget. So, as you know, I've been preparing you for a long time, really ever since I got here, that this budget has some structural deficiencies, and it has gotten worse as the year has progressed. And I must tell you that the structural deficiencies that were in the budget at the beginning of the year actually pale in comparison to the deficiencies that we've incurred since I've gotten here, and most of that is due to special ed costs that have just gone through the roof. It is nobody's fault. It is just the way it is. We have had kids that began with us in our own programs that have gone out to tuition-based programs that can cost us anywhere from $40,000 to $50,000 to $150,000. We have had kids who have been identified as autistic, who have begun with us in our own autistic programs, who have not succeeded sometimes, and go out to programs that can cost us $200,000. We have had kids move into our district who have brought with them expensive tuition bases, and until up to April 15th, I think it is it April 15th, we're responsible to pick up all of that money. So we have had an unusually bad year when it comes to financial responsibility in that area. So to that point, you're going to see some sheets here. I have simplified it as much as I can, and you're going to get budget books after my presentation so that you're not fiddling and diddling with the budget books while I'm presenting. Okay, go ahead, Karen. So we begin with what was passed by you and the City Council and signed by the Mayor as a $68.461,793 budget for this year. The proposed monies from the Mayor that he will hopefully add to the budget is $1.85 million for next year, giving us an FY17 budget proposal of $70,311,793. Okay. We have an incurred debt moving forward, and by the way, we're dealing with it this year as well. I don't know if we're going to get to zero this year. Every day is a new day, and Dr. Death over here has great news for me every morning regarding our new incurred debt as it goes up every day. But we are dealing with it, and we're trying to get to zero so that we don't have to ask for any more monies at the end of this year. And you know, we have at least a 50-50 shot at doing that through a number of strategies that we've employed throughout the year. But we have at least an $800,000 plus tuition, sped tuition deficit. It's probably closer to $900,000 as we speak right now. And we have a $200,000 sped transportation deficit. When you send kids out, oftentimes if you send them to the collaborative, that's minimal, that you're spending tuition cost. But when you send them to private institutions, you add transportation costs to that, and that can be significant because you didn't plan for that transportation cost. You didn't plan for the tuition either, but you have to add the transportation costs to that tuition cost. And we are in the $200,000 deficit range right now for just transportation alone for SPED. I put $1 million plus. We're probably closer to $1.1 million, possibly as high as $1.2 million for SPED deficit alone. When you add to that the 9 C cuts that occurred last year that we have incurred this year, in other words, it wasn't, we budgeted last year for this year a higher number than we actually got. We anticipated a higher number than we actually got. The 9C cuts came in at $165,000. That's a debt that we incurred when we opened up July 1 this year. We have a $125,000 debt in paras. It's actually more than that, but we've been able to move some of the para debt into grants and other places so that what probably was an over $200,000 debt, we've moved into the $125,000 range. And the raises we anticipate, when all is said and done with bargaining, the teachers are done, which is the big unit. But when we're done with Unit C and Unit B and some of the other units, we figure that will be in the $1,500,000 range, for a total debt incurrence moving forward of $2.79 million. Added to that, this is not debt, but it adds to the debt because this is money that I want to spend, and this is what I'm proposing to you as an A-list. Approximately, this includes, by the way, projected benefits in the projected number. About $80,000 for a substance abuse counselor. These are new positions that I am proposing to you. A middle school greeter. We all know that we've talked about somebody to greet people at the middle school. We're opening a brand new middle school. You have talked about a greeter. I've put it in the plan. A technology specialist. We talked about it earlier. You can't add 2,000 machines or 1,500 machines or 2,200 machines and not add somebody to your technology crew to help repair and operate these things. We've got to continue every year that we add machines, we're going to have to add somebody to the technology department, because the biggest mistake that school systems make is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on machines in either leases or purchases, and then not spending the money, $60,000, in manpower to make sure these machines don't break down. Nothing's more frustrating to a teacher than to have a bunch of machines sitting in front of him or her and not being able to use them for 3 weeks because there's nobody to fix them. That's a terrible mistake to make. So we have to keep up with both ends of our technology investment. And having a technology specialist added to our crew, who's fabulous as it is a good investment. We need a teacher of the deaf because we have the child. It's as simple as that. We have the child who has moved out of one program into another program, and for a whole variety of very specific reasons that Will could explain, but it would take a while, and you don't need that explanation right now. There's a very specific type of teaching that needs to go on for this very specific child. We need to add a very specific type of teacher for this child in order for her to learn to her capacity. We just need this teacher. So we have the child, we have to add the teacher. My proposal to you, and the reason that it's on the A list, is twofold. One, I think it's morally the right thing to do, and two, the therapeutic program is basically at capacity at the West School. For every child that we don't have room for, it could cost us about $150,000 in tuition when we send them out. For every so if we save one child, what it might cost us $90,000, we will add 12 students to capacity for $90,000 at the West School, and we have room. So by adding, for $90,000, by adding another classroom for our therapeutic program, if we only save one child, we are saving $60,000 more than it will cost us to open that classroom. I just think it makes sense. We need CODA because we have the services that we have to provide, and we need a culinary arts. We have promised Todd a new culinary arts program with the opening of a school. That's going to cost us about $65,000. This total comes to about $410,000. We add the 410 to the 279. It comes to about $3.2 million for basically debt. It's not really debt. It's debt plus new program, new people. Next. The B-list cluster. This is the next group that I would like to add but don't have the money right now. I would like you to make one correction. For the middle school cluster, Todd, I wish he were here tonight because I would give him a little jab. He sent me an email this morning because he knows that he's not on the A list. So he'd like to add another cluster. And he trimmed it down from 400,000 to 190,000. So, but make that little addition. He went from 400 to 190. So I sent him back an email that if he got it to 20, I would give him the new cluster at 20,000, plus I would give him a filet mignon from Costco. So I haven't heard back from him on that yet, but he would like to add a cluster. I just don't have the money in my thinking to do that this year. In talking with him, one of the questions that has come up, would he be changing specialists around if he didn't get the new cluster, and the answer is no. So I know that would have been a concern from this school committee. For that not to happen, that is not going to happen. He would still add the culinary teacher, he would still retain his specialists, and his class size would still remain basically the same. So I don't think this is the year to add the cluster. Next year, we can make it a priority. This year, I just don't have the money. But of course, it's your budget, so you're gonna tell me what to do. Athletic transportation is always underfunded. This time, this year, this time every year, we're always scratching for spring sports. Tom knows that. But we make it work. We take it out of a whole variety of different places. So it made the B list only because at some point I'd like to be able to bring it up to reality, but not this year. This is a program that I wish could make the A list. It has the same reasoning behind it as the therapeutic program, K through 2 pathways. I'd really like to add that program. But in making choices, the choice at this point, I think we have some capacity with the pathways program. We don't have any capacity with the therapeutic program. School Adjustment Council, we'd all like to add another SAC. We need those mental health services. We need those services for kids. The reason I put an asterisk here is this. We disbanded, if you remember, the Eagles program mid-year. Now, the reason we disbanded it was because it wasn't working, folks. It wasn't servicing our kids. Now, we got our kids serviced. We stopped the program. We have rethought that program. We may have a model that is more inclusive, and if we go with a more inclusive program, we may need one fewer, one less teacher. If we need one less teacher, my objective would be to take the money from that one less teacher and to move it to an additional school adjustment counselor. So it would be a wash. We would still have the Eagles program, but we'd take that school adjustment counseling services and spread those services out. That may happen. But Todd, Will, and Michelle Fine are still working on defining what that program's gonna look like. So I don't have an answer for that yet. We know we're gonna need paras. We always need paras. As a matter of fact, tomorrow I have a meeting with an orchestra of people around one kid who has imploded at a school. We know that one of the recommendations, if we go with that recommendation, either way it's gonna cost me money. One of the recommendations is a 45-day placement. Another recommendation is a placement at one of our programs in-house. That recommendation will cost me less money, but it will cost me a full-time aide. That happens. It's one of the reasons why we're in such debt with SPED, because this is what happens to some of our sickest kids. Kids who just can't, this was a kid who was in tremendous distress. We have to help the kid. And where this kid is right now, we don't have the services for him. It's gonna cost us money, one way or the other. We know it. It's just a matter of which way it's gonna go. So we know as the year goes on, it's gonna cost us some money. It makes the B list only because I can't make it part of the A list and make the money work. So we'll do what we have to do as the year goes on next year, and I'll keep you informed. I've asked Will to give me a weekly update on SPED finance, and he has been doing that since a month ago. And it gives us a better handle on where SPED is tuition-wise, para-wise. We're working on looking at paras, where they are, and whether or not paras can be program paras instead of one-to-one paras. We have to look at IEPs, we have to look at language. It takes a lot of work. And bottom line is, sometimes after you do all that work, you realize that they're appropriately placed, and there's not a whole lot of savings that you can make. It's the world we live in, so we'll do the best we can. Right now, the elementary teachers that I thought I might need next year might be down to one. I haven't put any in the budget for next year. I'm hoping that the way the numbers fall, they fall in our favor. Right now, they're falling in our favor. I don't know how that's going to be over the summer. We look at the numbers almost every day in the summer. But when you reach a certain point, at kindergarten 1 or 2, sometimes I just have to pull the trigger because the numbers are just too high, especially if the demographics call for it. You know, sometimes it's not just a matter of numbers, it's a matter of what types of numbers and what are the types of issues that may be in the classroom. So I can't guarantee that I'm not going to add elementary teachers over the summer, but I can tell you that it's going to be limited, and the principals know that. We need a social worker at the Welch. There's no question that we do. Not just for the kids, but for the families of the kids. I can't pull the trigger on it this year, but I can tell you that next year it probably will be on the A list. So there's at least $935,000 by this calculation, a little bit less, probably $735,000 with Todd's new calculation, that I'm not asking you for on this list here. Next. On the C list, eventually, this school committee is going to have to think about, we are a 6,000 student district. This is a hard district. Joe comes from a 6,500 student district. How many assistant superintendents do you have? 3? 2. You used to have 3. You have 2. Everett has at least 2. Malden and Medford have at least 2. They're similar-sized districts with similar demographics, although Everett is exploding with immigrants. Revere has exploded with immigrants. We're right up there with those types of communities. We have 1 assistant superintendent. At some point, you're going to need to think about adding something to help the people that are working 24/7. You can't continue to work the people that you're working, that are working 24/7 and just expect it as a matter of course. It can't continue to happen. So at some point, you're going to have to think about adding people like this, an assistant sped director. We're exploding with numbers in special education. Exploding. This would be money well spent because it will save you money in the long run.
Mr. Donahue, please report to the front lobby. Mr. Donahue, thank you.
Transition coordinators are connected to SPED. As a matter of fact, we may be directed by the state to hire these people. I believe there's a court case that has directed one community to do so. Is that right, Will? We may be next. So we may not have choices here. These are people who are assigned to help kids transition out of school or out of a level of school into another level. We do not have either one. So these are things to think about, you know, maybe not for next year, but for the future over the next 2 or 3 years. Even if it's 1 a year, you're going to have to start thinking about adding some structure, inner structure to the administrative team that we presently have. Joe, I'm sorry, you had your...
We have 2 assistants plus the K-12 director in math and in ELA, humanities.
We have none of that. We don't have any of that. We have to start thinking about that. Okay, next. So that, by the way, there's about $1 million worth of stuff that I'm not asking for because we just don't have the money. So if you add up what we need, which is about 3.2 million from the other slide, if the mayor is able to give us the 1.85, I am counting on about $450,000 from high out, low in. This is going to be an unusual year where we already know of a number of veteran teachers who are retiring. We already have their letters. So we know that we're going to lose some fairly high salary people. I am going to mandate that we hire no higher than Masters 4 on the salary scale to give us some decent savings in that area. We have to do it. We're hoping for this number in health insurance savings. We don't know if we're going to get it, but we're hoping for it. Yeah, it's big. It's different than what you've got.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's bigger than what you've got. You can make it. Feel free to make any changes because I've had to change this in our estimations. So the number that you have is probably 400,000. I've upped this to 521.
In the budget books,
I'm sorry.
in the front of your budget books, there's a new PowerPoint.
Yeah, and that's correct. In your budget book, it's correct. Now, I want to explain the energy. In the opening of the Higgins, we're going to save about $450,000 in energy. But we're going to give back about $150,000 in electricity. So the net savings is going to be about $300,000, and that's what I'm figuring. The energy district-wide will continue to be about $300,000 in the other schools at the prices that we have now, and I don't see the prices going up dramatically. So I'm figuring the same number. So that's about a $600,000 energy savings district-wide. And we figure about $250,000 savings at the high school with a couple of teachers. There's one position that we've identified that was never filled. We're not going to fill it, but the money's there. So that's a savings of about $90,000. It was a high-paying position. We never filled it. We're not going to fill it. It's actually a sped position. There are at least two other positions that Eric feels he's identified that can be reduced. We're figuring $250,000 there, or a total of 3.671. It gives us just a little bit of cushion, and that's if everything breaks right. Now, I'm going to tell you that, I want to tell you a few things up front that you probably already know by this presentation. Number one, the only way to move this budget forward is to at least continue to do some new things. That's really important. This budget is predicated on everything breaking right. It's also predicated on not having as bad a year in sped as we had this year. And I've talked to the mayor on a number of occasions, and he knows that if we have a bad year next year, that I will likely not be able to make up, even by shutting the budget down, the number that we've had to make up this year. And that I will be in front of the city council asking for a supplemental budget. So this budget is predicated on everything working well. We will monitor the budget every week and by the way, I took Jared out to dinner last week. I laid this all out for him. He has resigned. No, I'm kidding. He knows everything that he's walking into. He's not nervous about it. He walked into an $800,000 deficit in his last job. So he knows what we're dealing with. We're going to work together as a group. This is the best we can do at this particular time. Now, there is one more slide that I want to show you. The mayor has been very kind to us in hoping that he can do some things for us that we didn't have to put in the budget. A lot of this is based in technology. The POS system will be identified at the middle school very shortly. We will latch on to whatever system it is that they choose, and we will implement a POS system system-wide, and that will cost us about $60,000 outside of the middle school. This is from what we proposed to the mayor in his capital improvement plan. The wireless access points at the high school will cost us about $45,000. This will tremendously expand our ability to do the one-to-one that we plan to do at the high school. The elementary school infrastructure, we're going to do that out of the budget, but I wanted you to see that we're going to do it. This is operational. I'm not asking the mayor to do this out of the capital, but we will do it. The elementary wireless access points, there'll be 20-plus access points more in each elementary school to tremendously expand their capabilities. And that will cost us about $32,000. The first year of the elementary tech plan that you saw tonight, which will include grades 4 and 5 Chromebooks in every elementary school, teacher laptops, projectors, and cots for the elementary schools in grades 4 and 5, will cost us $30,304. The high school infrastructure upgrade, the data closets, all the new infrastructure in the data closets that you saw pictures of in the technology plan will take place here for $27,000. And the first year of the 4-year lease, 450 Chromebooks at the high school, will cost us $44,257. That includes replacing a quarter of the teacher laptops each year for 4 years. And of course, the big one is the science curriculum adoption of $525,000, which will get us a new science curriculum through grade 10, which everybody in the district is excited about. Principals, teachers, they're just tremendously excited about that. The total that we're asking the mayor to fund is $764,000. That includes the $525,000. $239,000 of that is technology. That excludes the $72,000 here. So it's $239,000 in technology and $525,000 for science and curriculum. So there's a lot of stuff that the mayor has agreed to try to fund under capital that we otherwise would not have any money to do. Now remember, this is our responsibility, not the POS system, but from here down is our responsibility. We're doing more with the E-rate money that will be coming back. So we'll be doing, our share will be this. The E-rate, I think, is a 60-some-odd% on top of this that we'll be spending. So it's not just this money that we'll be spending. We'll be spending more money than this. But this is our responsibility to get all this done. It's a tremendous deal for us to get all of this done for these kinds of dollars. And with that, I'm done. Any questions?
I also, if I
Mayor.
could, Dr. Levine, just to add on, a couple of other items that, right now we're compiling the potential list for a capital request we're gonna make to the city council. Anticipating that we're gonna be going to the city council June, July timeframe. Right now, we're doing all the city budgets and working on their capital requests. And certainly every department is making significant capital requests, but these are important ones, I know, to all of you as to me. In addition to those, the Superintendent Levine outlined, we're also looking at the auditorium at the high school to do a project there, and also the gymnasium project with the lights, as well as a project at the fields that I'll outline to you later. It's a small project at up in the upper field at the high school that I'll outline later at a later meeting.
And the funding, Mayor, of the move from the community high school to the D house.
Yeah, and the improvements, the improvements that are gonna be necessary there. So there's, in addition to that, which is technology and science, there's also some infrastructure work to our existing buildings that will be included in the request to the school, to the city council. I'll let everybody know as we further develop that plan as to dates, because certainly, you know, it might be an opportunity to be there and support and talk to some of the counselors, be able to answer some questions. But to me, these are all good investments, and you know, we don't go for capital improvements every year. This is, I think, last one we did was a couple of years ago, but we are going forward with one June, July, and these would be some of the items that I'd be putting forward, as well as some of the other ones I listed. So I'll give everybody, as I said, updates on that as well. This is just for science and technology, but there are other infrastructure building needs that we want to move forward on as well. Dr. Levine, could you just go back to the I just want to make sure I have the numbers correct, because my numbers aren't. If we can go back to the first slide, the budget summary.
You want to look at the budget book one, which is the up-to-date one.
Okay.
All right, so here's a budget book for you.
All right.
That's the one you want to look at.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just, okay, I'm trying to, are there any questions? I just want to try to reconcile these numbers, so I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Rosignol.
I have a number, a number of questions.
Go ahead.
Number one, the very first substance abuse counselor under the A list. Is that something that you would consider putting under the health clinic at the high school?
Yes.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's going to the health clinic at the high school. It will be adjunct to the health clinic.
it wouldn't be part of their services, it wouldn't be part of their budget.
Won't be part of their budget.
Why?
I don't think they can afford it. I don't think they have it. I mean, I'd love to do it under their budget, but I don't think they have the money for it.
Well, I think that, through the chair, I think that'd be something that we may be able to come up with a partnership for, because if they're able to bill, then they're able to recoup that cost. And I think it is something that they're interested in. So that just may be an avenue to get it, but not necessarily be in our operating budget.
So I'd be happy to have that conversation with Sharon and Allison. They haven't floated that to me,
Okay,
but I'd be happy to have that conversation.
okay.
By the way, if that happens, it would probably be the second year, because I think they would have to bill out for a year to recoup that money.
Well, I'm sorry, through the chair, that's kind of what they're doing currently with the, I'm gonna mess up her title, but the adjustment council that they currently house, they knew going in that there was going to be a deficit because they knew that they had to get a clientele before they could bill. Now that they have their licensure, they should be able to bill straight away.
From the beginning?
Exactly.
All right, so I can have a conversation with her
Okay.
about that.
My next question, if I may,
Yeah.
through the chair, the teacher of the deaf. And I think we've had this conversation before, it's the way it's taught.
Mhm.
By adding that teaching professional, will we be able to bring other students that we currently now have out of district placed come back to us?
Doubtful. Will, go ahead.
Some of the kids who we have out of district right now who are hearing impaired are out of district because they have more complications than just their hearing loss. They're more multiply handicapped. So it is doubtful. However, we may have the capacity to actually do a little recruiting or just advertising that we have a deaf and hard of hearing program with other surrounding neighboring towns.
Some other
and see if we
communities.
can have a tuition in.
Absolutely.
And the other
that's
thing,
possible.
the other thing that Dr. Levine referenced, but we also have students who are moving, we have one student who's moving up to the middle school, so that's the other reason why we're looking for an additional teacher of the deaf, because we're gonna have to have cover more than one building.
See, this person, yeah, it gets a little complicated, but the person's gonna have to service more than one level.
Next is just ancillary, but the CODA, that's the Certified Occupational Therapist Assistant. I don't think you're gonna find one for 20,000. just as an
It's a
FYI.
3-day-a-week job.
Oh, okay, it's part-time. Oh, perfect, thank you. The athletic transportation, did we ever send out an RFP to see if we can get people on board to cover our needs within our budget?
The RFP that you wanted me to?
Correct.
Yeah, that's still in the works. I'm trying to get that done through Phil and Dan Doucette. Dan said that he would put that out in May. It would be on his agenda for May. And I think that Phil is working on the language.
Okay.
Dan said that the complication with that, straight transportation is easy to do.
Right.
Athletic transportation is more difficult because of the seasons and the
Rain.
So
To be perfectly honest with you.
Phil has to put that together, the language,
Okay.
before Dan can actually create an RFP.
I-
It's being worked on.
And the reason why I ask is I think that if they know that they're going to be able to service our students for some time, 3 years, let's say, we may be able to actually fund it appropriately
Because we know what the cost.
Because we know what the cost is. We'll have cost certainty over a couple of years.
Trying to get that done for you.
Okay.
It's not, it's been a little bit slow.
I'm sorry, if I may, through the chair. As far as the elementary teachers, are you identifying specific elementary schools, specific grades?
Specific, all, yeah,
Both?
both.
Okay.
What we do is we get a readout from Mary Ellen's office.
Yep.
And it tells me move-ins, move-outs, and what the present class sizes are from each class at each grade level in each school. And then we talk about the history of move-ins and move-outs over the summer.
Well, that was going to be my question is historically, the numbers that we have now are going to be sizably different come August, let alone
Yeah.
October.
We know that.
And almost inevitably, they're going to rise. I mean, I think this is the first year that when we've sat through the school improvement plans, that every elementary school had an influx of students, including the Burke, I think, had 20 students from September till now.
But I only had to add one teacher this summer.
Right.
Which was unusual, because when I was here in 2011, I had to add 5.
Right.
So it really depends upon where they go.
Sure, absolutely. And then lastly, I think lastly, K-9 Director of Curriculum and Instruction, have you thought of having the department heads at the high school head their expertise to become department chairs K through 12?
There is some talk right now in negotiations, which I can't talk about publicly.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Amico?
Thank you. Through the chair to Dr. Levine. I like the A-list, and I do notice that you have a substance abuse counselor in there. I'd really love to see the another school adjustment counselor placed in that A-list. Just talking to the principals and during their presentations, it always came up, especially in our elementary programs. There's a lot of transiency. It just seems like it's just been a tragic year, and things come up, and the lack of not having that person who can cater to these students. Not only do I think it's morally the right thing to do, but even academically, these kids who can't focus in class, they're not producing. And I just think I'd love to see that school adjustment counselor placed in the A-list.
Yeah, what happens, since we don't have enough coverage for all the elementary schools every day, we share. And, you know, you can have an elementary school blow up when you don't have a SAC available, and it's tough, it's hard. So you're absolutely right. If we could do that, that would be terrific. And we may be able to do that at no cost, depending upon how we structure that program. So let me work on that.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Mr. Olympio?
On the technology specialist, so is the existing technology department, are they capped out with what they can handle?
Yeah,
as far as-
we're pretty,
Yeah,
they work pretty hard.
okay.
And we've got 4 who covers all of our schools now, who cover all of our schools now. When we add 2,000 machines, we're really gonna need it.
Any other comments or questions at this time, Mrs. Dunn?
Yes. Dr. Levine, on the A-list with the middle school greeter, that is something that we definitely need because of the approach to the school. Is there any thought that we could somehow find funding under security grants or anything like that? Because it is, in a way, a security position. That person is going to be screening the people who come to the doors.
That's a good recommendation, we'll take a look. That's a good recommendation.
Okay.
We'll certainly take a look.
The substance abuse counselor, which I think is a wonderful, it's sad that it's needed, but this is a wonderful initiative. Is there any thought at the state level, I know you met with the Speaker of the House, do you think that there'll be funding from the state to help with this, where it's such a crisis throughout the entire Commonwealth, that maybe they're going to understand that the schools are on the front line of most of this fight, and that would be helpful?
I don't, and I'll tell you what they have not yet funded. They don't fund salaries.
Oh.
They have, after my discussion with, and I don't think that it was connected, But after my discussion with the speaker, there was a significant increase in program. They funded, I think they added $39 million to opiate programming with the governor. And we're going to get some of that. But they don't typically fund salaries. And what I'm trying to convince them of is that people count too, and kids need people to talk to. So we'd like some help in that end. And he was very sympathetic to that. I think eventually they will, but I don't think it'll happen this year. It's too much money.
And then, I had another question through the chair. The cluster, the Higgins Middle School cluster. I know it's the crystal ball that we all want, but it's a brand-new building. People are very excited about it. I'm wondering if we are going to have an increase in students at the school who people will decide to make it, make that their destination for middle school.
Here's my guess. I think we will. I don't think it'll be this year. I think it'll be next year and years to come. I think we have a one-year grace period, and I think that in this budget year, we need to take advantage of that. That's my suggestion. I promise you that if this summer it looks like we need it, I'll come back to you, and we'll readjust our thinking.
Do we allow school choice at Higgins?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, depending upon whether or not we have the room.
Right.
We do it by superintendent's decision.
And I have another one, sorry.
No, please.
Miscounted. On the C list, and I know that, that's in the future, but the transition coordinator, 17 to 21, and then one for the Brown and the Higgins Middle School. Is there any type of mechanism, such as a collaborative? I know the collaborative that we belong to for special education, that's to actually teach the kids.
Mm-hmm.
But do any of them provide, a transition coordinator where perhaps we could share the cost with Salem, or, a school system like ours, where someone could work part-time for each one, you could split the cost? Because most of these students end up transitioning into programs with kids from other cities. So
Will,
would that work?
have you thought about talking with your colleagues in other cities?
That's a good suggestion, and actually I do go to a monthly meeting with the special ed directors for the consortium, so I will bring that up there to see what other school districts are doing and see if anybody has any ideas, because depending upon the size of a high school, they may not need a full-time.
Right.
And we are one of the, we're a large high school.
Right.
So I'm not sure we need a full-time, but we might need a 3/4, and they could share it with another school. So I'll bring that idea forward.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's it.
Thank you,
So
Mrs. Dunn.
I think that we should choose a date or two. If you want to have, it's up to you guys. This is it. As you can see, there's not a whole lot of places to go. We could do this a number of ways. If you want to have a meeting on the budget to talk about the A, B, and C list, or some of your own ideas, that's up to you. You could also get your suggestions to me. Well, if there are going to be, the budget is yours. Eventually, you need a meeting to vote the budget. So if you want to talk about changes from the proposal that I've made, you really do need a meeting before you vote the budget to make, some final adjustments and hear what all of you think. So we really should pick a date to do that.
Yeah, and then I was looking at, looking ahead, again, we're meeting in the regular school committee meeting May 10th and May 24th. Certainly we can use maybe that May 10th day if we were to schedule, 5:30 to 7:30 before the regular school committee meeting. We could utilize that time. And I think you're right, I think you're suggesting at least to have one other day. If we wanted to pick a day next week, or if we wanted to have May 10th be our first meeting, and then, try to set something up the following week. Again, that's a little tricky. I know we have some school events coming up.
Is the 17th open? Is our off
The
week?
17th, that's the George Peabody Legacy Awards. I don't believe, I thought it was May 17th. It's a Tuesday. I think, really?
Sorry.
No, I was pretty positive on
So I
that.
got the flowers and the food for the
Are you okay with the numbers, by the way, Mr. Mayor? Did you, are those numbers okay?
No, I have a couple of
Fantastic.
questions I'll have to follow up on here. You might want to check that date.
I'm gonna look at the date.
Yeah, I had it as the 17th, but Karen might be right. But I think we better double check that. No, I thought it was a Tuesday.
So Carol, what did you say?
The 19th.
No, yeah, I've got the 19th.
So that's a Thursday evening?
George Peabody, yeah, I've got the 19th.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, we could do the 17th.
Right, I'll definitely find, I'll text the chair right now.
Text the chair.
Right
All right.
now.
Well, you're gonna get a lot of cookies and flowers that day.
So, should we plan on meeting at 5:30 the night of the 10th,
Yes.
prior to the school committee meeting? To go over budget and...
I think that'd be beneficial.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Hahn?
Yeah, thank you. I'm all for meeting and getting this underway. Is the 1.85, is that firm or relatively firm? I don't mean to...
Well, that was the request.
I just-
we've kind of, Dr. Levine's been kind of filling me in, but we,
By May 10, you'll have a firm number,
yeah,
is
I'll
that
have-
fair?
by that, absolutely.
Okay.
Probably before that, I can let you know. I haven't seen these numbers yet.
No, that's fair enough. As long as
Yeah.
before we meet, we'll know a number, that's all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, absolutely, I can pledge to that. All right, so May 10th, so we got May 9th for the after-school program interviews. May 10th, we have our meeting at 5:30 for budget, regular meeting at 7:30, and then we can tentatively plan on Tuesday, May 17th.
Yeah, just got it correct. It's the 19th.
19th, all right, that's not good for me, though. Well, that's my problem. Okay, so we'll do the 17th, the 10th and the 17th?
Okay, good.
All right.
Marge, you got that all set? We're booked.
The 17th is 5:30?
17th is, it's 5:30 work, or do you want to do it a little later?
Where are we gonna have it? Are we gonna have it in the smaller room, or are we gonna do the city hall? The budget meetings are a little different.
Yeah, we could do the budget meetings at the Kylie.
Yeah,
We
I'll go do that.
we need table space
Well,
for the
the
books.
one on the 10th, though,
Is
May
before.
10th, is before a
That's
regular
okay.
meeting.
Yeah,
We can
that's
do that at
fine.
the, at the City
Hall.
Hall.
Yeah.
And the May
17th.
17th budget meeting will be at the Kylie.
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
I wouldn't want to take my
What time?
budget book back.
Yeah, can we push that one back to
5:30?
17th
How
a
about-
little bit?
How about 6 on the 17th?
That would be better.
6 on the 17th. Okay.
It's just 5:30.
Yeah.
All right, and with that, Mr. Mayor, I'm done with my superintendent's report.
Very disappointed you
We get,
I did
excuse
it
me,
for
through the
instructor
chair.
of
Are we getting budget books tonight?
Instructor of
too?
Hebrew.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Dr. Levine, thank you, that was great. Lot to digest and think about for the upcoming meetings. Going back to the agenda, we do have some requested documents. Looks like the attendance reports from our schools, teachers' attendance, and also the report from our weights for the
Textile.
textiles. Yes.
Always
rattled-
always of interest.
I'm rattled by the
The 19th.
19th, that's not my full
Sorry,
week.
Mr. Mayor, sorry.
No, just, I thought I had everything else set up. Yeah, Mr. Rosignol.
Well, just a quick question. With the bus contract, I'm assuming that needs to be voted on, considering that has budget implications.
Historically, point of information, usually we set the fee.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right. You should accept the fee, you should vote the fee.
Yeah.
Unless we want to make changes and raise it
Yeah.
or lower it, if it's the will of the committee. Personally, I recommend not changing it. I
No, I
think
would, yeah.
the one-way bus pass, I thought worked out really well
Yeah.
for families, and I wouldn't like to see any changes in it. So I mean, I'd make a motion to accept it as is.
Second.
Okay, On that motion, made by Mr. Rossignol, seconded by Mr. Olympio. Mrs. Dunn, did you have a question?
Just that we should change the date that's included in the letter.
Okay, let's do a roll call vote on that, please.
Mr. Hoffman?
No.
Mr. Rossignol?
Yes.
Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We do have one written communication to Cummings Property from Dr. Levine, thanking them, sincerest gratitude for $1,000 donation made to our boys soccer program. In the name of a Peabody resident, one of our employees, Michael Bolletero. That'll be received, and we'll go to subcommittee reports. Education, Mr. Hockman?
Yeah, we were scheduled to meet this Thursday, but due to some events that are taking place that day, we're moving our subcommittee meeting to Tuesday, May 3 at 4 p.m. at the Higgins Principals Conference Room.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Finance, Mrs. Carpenter?
We are still in active negotiations with several units.
Okay. School safety, Mrs. Carpenter?
Nothing at this time.
Athletics and wellness, Mr. Rossignol?
Nothing at this time.
Quality and standards, Mrs. Dunn?
Actually, I'm going to confer with my other two members, and hopefully we'll have a meeting either next Monday or next Tuesday, May 2nd or May 3rd. We have a packet of new updated policies that come down from MASC, and the subcommittee needs to review those, and then we'll bring them forward at the next school committee meeting with recommendations on those.
Great. Thank you. Liaison to City Council and Advisory Boards, Mrs. Dunn?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Parent Advisory Board meeting took place yesterday, April 25th. And Dr. Levine was our featured speaker and did a great job. Thank you, Dr. Levine. The topics that were discussed by the Parent Advisory Board members were questions about online fundraising amongst the staff and why that has been suspended for the time being. We explained to the members that it is because of concerns about ethics requirements on donation limitations and the need to just make this part of our policy because we want to make sure that everything is in line before those fundraising possibilities take place. There were questions about the RFP, and the Parent Advisory Board members were very pleased to see the results of the survey that they had worked on. And actually, I will present to all of you an interesting thought that the parents spoke about was we were explaining that there are 3 different companies that have put in the proposals, and that there could be any different configuration of whether we have one company do before and after school in summer, or there could be a different company doing before. It just depends on what the presentation showed at the school committee. And parents suggested that the issue of payment, that could be difficult, and it's just something I think you should be aware of, that writing out a check to one company for your morning care, one company for your afternoon care is something that they wanted you to think about. So I bring that forward for your consideration. Let's see. Dr. Levine spoke about many of the things that you just heard about in the budget presentation, about the point of service, the new point of service that's going to go into the Higgins cafeteria, as well as expanding that at the high school and elementary schools. About we have a consultant working to come up with new and innovative ways to interest students in student lunches and to have improved signage and presentation of those meals. And an update on the science program. Parents were interested in that. Parents asked questions about the Carroll roof with the leak and how that is being repaired. Dr. Levine gave them information on that. Let's see. And the issue of communications and trying to get better communication out to parents so that they will feel more invested in the school and so that they'll attend more of the events and help out with many of the activities going on in the schools. And our next meeting will be May 23rd. And it will take place at a location to be determined. We're trying to go around to different schools and host the meetings at different buildings. So that's all.
Good, thank you for that report, Mrs. Dunn.
Thank you.
Building and grounds is overdue. I need to have a meeting. I'll be setting that up shortly, a couple of issues to discuss. And new business, handle the regular course for the next meeting. Items for next agenda, please let superintendent or I know any items. And great, this was a good meeting. You got a lot accomplished. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.